So as users, you should be able to access this particular page here. And this is what we refer to as the Swift Digital Dashboard. On the left-hand corner here where you see choose a module, you'll find all the different modules that are available in your account. And all accounts should have the module Mailhouse, which we see down at the very bottom here. So for those who are new and those who are familiar with the Mailhouse, this is pretty much the first page you'll see. And the tab is called Mail Groups. And a Mail Groups is essentially where all your lists are stored. And they are separated by the different folders, which you can see in this drop down here. And you can also see which groups have been created for those folders as well. So I've just got a few mail groups and folders already created within this account. And I'll be using those as examples of how to create and segment lists as well later on when we go through those series of steps. But before I start off with our main topics, I do want to kind of just give an overview of the Mailhouse and what sort of tabs you'll see. So at the very top, you will also have access to what's called Quick Search and Add. So essentially, Quick Search and Add is allowing you to locate any contacts you want to find within your Mailhouse. Of course, they do have to be uploaded and existing contacts, otherwise you won't be able to find them. And there are certain fields which you can filter these searches by as well. So clicking into this drop down, usually you'd probably be searching by email to drill down on a particular contact. And you can type in or copy and paste the contact's email address in this field here. So if you do enable strict, it just ensures that you are only locating that particular contact. If you disable this option, you can have just a keyword and then have a series of other various contacts who match that populated field that you have here. So I'll leave the strict option on, but once I click search, you can see here that I've got 2 contacts who share the same email address within this account. On the right-hand side of this, you do have what's called a columns, an actions column, which you can edit a contact, meaning you can unlock these series of fields and update any of their details if you do need to update them manually yourself. So you can see that there. There's also the option to delete. So deleting allows you to delete contacts from your Mailhouse, and they'll be permanently deleted and removed from all your mailing lists that they're a part of. And for those who have access to Profile 360, this will take you to the subscriber's profile page for that particular contact as well. Another thing to mention with the Mailhouse is that there are 2 different environments which the Mailhouse acts differently. So for this particular account here, which you can see at the very top, shows transactional account. We also do have another account which is called a marketing account, which only allows you to have a contact appear as one individual profile within your account. For transactional accounts, you can use the same email address for multiple contacts. So examples of this would be maybe a husband and wife who share the same email address but have different contact details attached to them. So you can see out there, that's why my email address appears twice. So with transactional accounts, the unique identifier within the system is first name, last name, and email. Whereas for marketing accounts, we have just email as a unique identifier within the system. So more on custom fields, which we can see here as well. So custom fields will allow you to create the fields that you want to map across when you do import a new list. So when you import a new list, of course, you have different types of details, different type of fields. And at the very top, you have your standard fields, which are fields that we've created within the system. And they're there for all accounts that have that are currently active. And then you also have custom fields as well. So custom fields, of course, would be any fields that your organization would use, and you'd create them through here as well. So by creating a custom field, you can do that via the Add Custom Field option, and that's where you'll enter in the name. When you enter in the name, the merge field will come through, and that's just a system field which allows us to differentiate between different fields in your account. And there are 4 different field types. So you've got text, which allows alphanumeric characters. You've got number, which of course is number only. And then you've also got single choice, which is another option which allows you to set a few values in there. And of course, when you upload your contacts, these values will hold for uh, whichever selection you've added to their contact data. And then last but not least, we also have date as well. So date, of course, refers to date fields in particular. Maximum size is the number of characters that the field pertains to. So if you have a data field which you expect to have a large number of characters exist in the mailhouse, then I would probably add in a large number. Whereas if you have a smaller field which you expect only a few characters, then you can select a lesser amount of numbers there as well. We also have the folder section as well. So this is where you'll be able to create new folders. There are many ways to create new folders within the Mailhouse, but if you do want to create a new folder and build a series of folders before you import lists and so forth, that's something you can do via the folder tab. And simply going to the folder section, you'll see there you'll be able to create a new name for the folder. And then you can also set your settings for who will be able to access this folder as well. So this is another layer of, I guess, permissions and settings that you might want to apply to certain folders. So different business units around your organization might have certain folders that other business units should not have access to. So this is one area which is quite important and quite useful in doing that. So the first thing I would like to share with you guys is just how to set up a particular data list. And I've just got a data list here that I've created in Excel. It's got a few different details, as you can see on the page here. And I guess I'll just go through how the spreadsheet should look, how it should be spread out, and what to look out for when you are trying to upload a list as well. So the first thing to note is I do have some header fields. So header fields are quite useful in your spreadsheet to ensure that when you do upload the list into Swift Digital, it's easier for you to decipher between which fields are which, as well as allowing you to organize your fields as well to see what fields have not been created and what fields have been created within the system already. So here we've got first name, last name, email address. As I know, those are already default fields within the system, so I don't have to create those. I might have to create organization, state, or postcode. So in that case, I will create them through the custom fields section. And down below, I have all my my different contacts and their details attached to those fields as well. So good thing to note is you do want to have your columns all split into their own separate cells. And of course, each contact to have their own row of data as well. So you don't want to be having, a couple of contacts in the same row, and then all of a sudden 2 contacts are now missing from your mail group when you do upload the list. So it's always best to kind of ensure that your rows and columns are separated neatly to ensure the successful import once you're ready to import that list. Additionally, you do want to ensure that your list is converted into what's called a CSV file. So you can do that quite easily through Excel by going to File, Save As, and in the drop down here, you'll see all the different file options. You do want to select comma delimited, which is .csv, which we see here. So once you've done all of that, the next step would, of course, be to import your list. And to import your list, that is at the very top in this tab called Import Export. So when you click into this section here, you'll be redirected to this page, which is simply just allowing you to click into select CSV file, which we have converted our file already, and then selecting the group that you want to upload. So I'm going to be uploading this list called Swift Digital Mailhouse Masterclass webinar list. Once I hit open, it should take me to the next page. So this page here is, of course, where you'll be mapping out your fields. And as you can see on the left-hand side, I've got my header fields, and then I've got my sample of contacts. So it's easy for you to kind of go through and just select the different fields. It doesn't matter too much if your column header in your Excel spreadsheet doesn't match with the one in Swift, because the one in Swift is always going to be the one that's used as the label for that field. So as we go along, we're just going to be selecting all the different fields that require the mapping. I've got organization, state, and postcode as well. So you just want to ensure that you double check all these settings and that they're all correct. So I'd like to kind of just go through them once again, just to ensure everything's all correct. And you can also save this mapping for future use. So if you do know that your lists always sit in the same format where they have first name, last name, email address, organization, state, and postcode as I have here, I can create it as a mapping. And for the next import I do, I can go and say, okay, select this mapping, and it will apply to all those fields again. So the same sequence of fields that we see here. So that's where you can create a new mapping. So I might just do that quickly and call this Mailhouse mapping and create mapping. So you can see in the drop down now that we have this option, and you can easily delete mappings if you want to by just clicking the bin icon on the right hand side here. So the next step would be for you to click continue. And this is where your import options will come along. So import options refers to the folder that you want to place this group into, and also selecting whether you want to create a brand new group or place these contacts into an existing group. So again, we can create new folders via the create new folder option at the very top here. If I wanted to create a new folder, I can give it a new name. Otherwise, I can just place it into a specific folder that we have available here. So there's two options. Of course, there's going to be the option for you to select an existing group, meaning that these several contacts that you're currently uploading will be added on top of those who already exist in those groups. So they won't replace them as such. It will just add them as new contacts or update their details if someone's details has changed as part of the new spreadsheet that you've uploaded. So I'll just place it into this existing group as for now. But if you do need to create a brand new group, simply click into this button and then of course create a provide a name and then click create new group, which will allow you to create that new mailing list. The other options as well would be for you to import previously bounced contacts. So importing previously bounced contacts, by default, we don't import those who have bounced in the past, because in such cases, you don't want to have inactive contacts in your active mailing lists and so forth. But if you do want to have the option to do so, that checkbox is available for you to enable to allow you to import previously bounced contacts. There's also another option called blank fields overwrite existing data, meaning that if you do upload contacts in this particular spreadsheet and there are blank fields, those blank fields will clear existing data for that contact. So how the Mailhouse works in essentially is when we detect existing contacts, we do update their details based on whatever changes have been made from the most recent upload. Any blank fields, we by default don't replace those. We just keep whatever was imported previously. But if you do want to overwrite that data, then of course, and clear that data, of course, you can enable this option here as well. I'll leave those two unchecked for now, but once you click perform import, it should take you to the last page, which is review. And this is where your import process will kind of go along. And you can kind of check the status of that import by going to import queue. And that gives you the list of all the different imports that have been done by several users within your account. So I've already uploaded this list several times this morning. So I can kind of give you a brief overview of what the report would show you. So you can see here on the page that it does give you quite a comprehensive report on how your import has gone. It shows you how many total records, how many are accepted, and how many were rejected as well. So you can see down below here, accepted records, if they're new records added, meaning that they're new contacts and they've been added to the account for the first time. And then there's also existing records updated, meaning these are records that have been updated because they already exist in your Mailhouse. Underneath, we also have rejected records. So at times you'll see previously bounced, you'll see empty rows, any duplicates. If you are a marketing account, duplicates in your spreadsheet, only one person will be added. So be mindful of that. And then of course, invalid email or mobile. So if there's any errors in the syntax of the email address, there's going to be issues where that person won't be uploaded. But our only, I guess, invalid email or mobile is our header fields, which of course, understandably, doesn't have an email address fixated to it. And then we also have our import destination. So this is whichever folder or mail group you've added these contacts into. And then last but not least, we have our mapping report as well, which shows you all the different fields that were used for that particular import. So this kind of gives you an understanding of where this group or how this group was added to the mailing list. So that's that there. You do also get an email automated to you to show you the report as well. So you can see that all there. And that's just similar to what you'll see in this page here as well. So with that, the next step of you checking out that group would be just to go to the mail group section again, and then going through the actual group itself. So here I've already got the Mailhouse Masterclass folder selected. I can go through into the group and see who those contacts are in particular. So you can see here, these are all the contacts that I've uploaded, all their states, organization, postcodes, and so forth intact as well. So this, you can see here, the mail group has been successfully uploaded. So we are good to send out emails to this group. One thing to also notice is that we do have a edit to view option. So if there are certain fields that you want to view in this screen, you can enable them via these options here. So of course, anything with a tick means that they're enabled and active as a view, and anything with a cross is of course inactive. So you can change all these around if you need to, depending on how you want to view your contacts and what fields are relevant to you as well. Once you hit confirm, you should be able to kind of figure out which columns and fields are being used at the moment. You can also export this, so you can export the list if you needed to. So by going through the export option, you can go to select only specified mail groups. And this way you can export groups by selecting the folder, the mail group, or several mail groups if you want to, export multiple mail groups, and then click continue. And in this field here, in this section here, you'll need to select the fields that you want to export along with that group as well. So again, you can kind of go through and select your fields. So first name, last name, email. We also had organization, postcode, and state as well. So those are the several fields I want to export. And a lot of the time you do have the option to include other fields as well. So any system fields, such as if someone subscribes or when they've subscribed. So the subscribe stamp is when they were first added to the Mailhouse, not necessarily when they were added to that particular group that you're exporting. So just be mindful of that. And if you are running, say, an export of bounces or unsubscribes, it's always best to include bounce stamp and bounce reasons if you're exporting bounces. And then also for unsubscribes, include unsubscribe stamp, so you know how they've unsubscribed from the system or from your account in particular. When you click continue, you can also have some limitations to how that export will go through. So only subscribe contacts for these options here. So if you are exporting unsubscribes or bounces, then of course you'll select the respective status groups here as well. And then you can also limit by date range. So this is the date range when they've unsubscribed or when they've bounced, or of course when they were first added to the Mailhouse for your account as well. So you can easily do that by selecting your date range from these calendar options here. Last but not least, we also have limit by domain. So if you do want to drill down on a particular company and you know what their domain is, you can enter in that domain as well. So that's that option there. Once you perform import, it should allow you to export that list. And we do have the export report area where you can re-download that list if you need to via this section here. So by clicking into it, you can re-download that report if you have lost it on your computer files as such. So that's that with the import and export options. Um, I do want to drill down on the target query in particular as well. So the target query in itself is quite a powerful tool for segmentation, particularly for those who have really large data lists and want to break them up into specific mail groups. So if you have a targeted, say, communication that needs to go out to a certain state or certain series of members, you can create that through the target query quite easily as well. So through create new, this is where the target query will come, options will come up. So of course, the first thing you'll need to do is provide a name of that target query, which in this case, we'll just call it Swift Digital Masterclass Series target query. And then we can also add a description. So if there's some sort of descriptive text that you want to add to this query, you can do that as well. And then there's also the option to lock target query so that any other users and yourself won't be able to update those settings unless you go through and change those and edit that setting later on. So there's 4 different type of queries you can run or queries that you can add to your list of criteria. So the first one is add the mail group rule. So mail group rule is you specifying which mail group you want to target in particular. So for the group that I uploaded today, which was Mailhouse Members 2024, I can say I want to target those who have been subscribed to this particular group and then add certain fields later on which match that criteria that we're trying to capture as well. So when you add a field value rule, what happens here is it gives you a drop down and list of different fields that you want to target as well. So from our list that we have that we've uploaded recently, if you want to, I guess, target those who are from New South Wales, you can go and say, okay, I want to target those from the state New South Wales. Or if we want to use organization, we can do that as well and say only those who are part of this group, but also meet the value of Instagram, they'll only be added to this group as well. There's also the option for add an activity rule. So add an activity rule is the option for you to specify from a particular send that you've sent out and target those who have, say, unopened. And selecting a particular send, you'll select that through here. So this is a great way for you to follow up on emails to contacts who have not opened up the email. They haven't made any interactions with the actual email that they've received. So they haven't clicked, they haven't opened, they haven't done anything else with that email that they've received. You can create a query for that as well. And we also have the postcode rule. So with the field we had with postcode, you can target a certain radius of people from a particular postcode. And by entering the postcode through here, so we're just going to use Enmore as an example, I can target all postcodes surrounding the Enmore within 10 kilometers of that radius. They'll also be added to that particular group as well. So this is more a geolocation query, which allows you to do so. Another thing to kind of mention would be the operators that we see here. So and or are the 2 operators. So and is, of course, they have to meet all the different criteria that you've set here, or will allow you to will allow your contacts to meet either requirements that you set in these options here. So you can kind of have a play around with this quite easily. So what I'll do is I'll create an example of how those would work. So I'm just going to have two different options in here. So, and a contact who meets the who is available in the Mailhouse Members 2024 group and is subscribed, and they also have to meet the organization Instagram. If I do want to create another leverage in that particular query, I can quite easily do that by going add new mail group rule and then also add new field rule as well. So to break these two sections up, just select the all option and you can kind of go through and create another group as well. So organization is Facebook. And from my list, I should have about 4 contacts that meet this particular query here. So once I hit save, you should be able to see that there are 4 members in that group. And the next step for you would be to actually select that particular query that we see here. And in the action drop down, add them to a particular mail group as we see here. So when you click add to mail group, what's going to happen is these 4 contacts who meet those particular requirements that you've selected, they'll be added to a particular group that you create. So it can be an existing group, which we can see here. By default, it does go to an existing group. You can easily search by mail group name and also by mail group, by Mailhouse folder as well. So I'm just going to create a new group and I'm going to place it into social media companies and call this group Facebook and Instagram. So once I hit confirm, what's going to happen is these 4 contacts will be added to that group. And if we go to that particular group now in the mail group section, what you'll see is that group has been created. If we click total contacts where the update button is available, you'll see that there are 4 contacts in there. So once I go into that group, I should see that only contacts who were from that group that we selected and have the organization set as Instagram and Facebook have been added to this group. So that's how we kind of segment groups based off a larger group that you've uploaded into the system. So going back to the target query as well, if you know there are new contacts that have been added to the Mailhouse and meet this certain criteria, you can of course go and select that group or that target query, and then click members update, meaning there's going to be more members that will be updated and added to this group here. So again, if I go and edit this group, edit this query in particular, what's going to happen is if I remove these 2 and click save, there's only going to be 2 groups or 2 members that have been added to this particular query here. I'll just refresh this for now, and it should only show as 1 target query as we see here. You can also rename this as well. So sure, if you can edit this, you can also rename this if needed and also change the description. And then you can also unlock the target query if required as well. So other things you can do within the Mailhouse as well would be to move certain members of the Mailhouse into certain groups as well. So for example, if I located Zoe here and go to edit, I can go to the mail group tab quite easily and select which groups that Zoe should be a part of. So when you click edit, it shows you the contacts details. And there are 3 different tabs. So we have the mail group tab as well. So you do need to add a person to a particular mail group. Simply just scroll down and locate that mail group. And then just by enabling that cross icon, they should be added to that group as well. So you can see that there. So Zoe is part of the Instagram members, and I'm just going to add Zoe into that group. Once I hit apply, it should update that for me as well. So you can sort this as well to show the groups that a particular contact is added to. So you can see here that Zoe is added to 3 different mail groups. And if you do need to remove Zoe from a certain mail group, again, it's just the act of reverting that and removing that contact from the group. So it's an easy way for you to add and remove certain contacts on the fly if you need to via the mail group section. And then logs, of course, is where you'll see how this person was added. So if they're subscribed or added by a particular user, you'll see that there. So the action type is subscribed by myself as a user, and the action time was on the 17th of June 2024. So that's when Zoe was first added to this account, and in particular to this mail house as well. Um, Last but not least, for our administrators, I know it's important for you to provide access to certain users. So the Mailhouse module in particular, you'll need to enable those for your account users if they do need access to those particular modules. So by just going to the administration module down at the very bottom, we have the account users tab where we have also edit user. So when you edit this user, you should be able to enable Mailhouse with these options here. So the two options or the two permissions that allows users to do things would be to view. So that's allowing them to see what groups have been added to the Mailhouse. And of course, permissions within the folders themselves would of course add another layer of viewership as well in the Mailhouse. The edit option, which we see here, is also the other option to um, to allow someone to either import a list, edit any contacts, or things like that as well. So if you do want to restrict certain users from being able to import a list or edit any contacts, then you'll disable that option, which you see here, edit. So once you update that user, it should update their accesses, and I guess they should have access to the Mailhouse if it's been enabled in this section here. So that's pretty much the end of today's particular webinar. It's quite short and sweet. The Mailhouse isn't a very big module in itself. It does um, kind of go through all your different mailing lists and your mail groups and such. We will be running more of these masterclasses in the near future, mainly focusing on different modules which you might not have access to, but you are interested in, and we'll be happy to kind of be running those quarterly. So we hope to see you at our next edition of our masterclasses, and hope that everyone joins us again as well. There's one last question from someone, and it is quite a good question. It's, if I edit a mailing list view, will that change it for everyone? So if you do change the view of the mail group in particular, it only applies to yourself. It shouldn't apply to everyone else in the account itself. So that's that. So again, thank you everyone for participating today, and I hope you all have a lovely day and rest of the week as well. Thank you.